Hello and welcome back. A very good morning to all of you back in Mumbai, in different cities in India, and of course, my friends who are overseas will be watching this video at some point of time or the other. Now, in my quest and endeavor to bring you a unique series on tips and techniques, this morning I bring you something very different, and this is the leadership series. And I begin with Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Okay, I'm sure you've all read the book. It was published way back in 1989, and then we had the Eighth Habit, which came out in 2004 July. So probably most of you out there who are watching this video right now have grown up on it, have read that book. Let me refresh your memory and take you with a little flavor of the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I so love this book. I probably practiced it very, very regularly in my corporate days, and we were monitored on how we were using these habits because the organizations that we worked for not only trained us, but they also ensured that we put it back into use when we were on the operations floor in our day-to-day work schedule. So, according to you and me, what is a habit? Now, the habit is an intersection of knowledge, skills, and desires. Very simply put. The first habit that we get into is be proactive. Now, this is based on the principles of personal vision by Stephen Covey. The proactive model gives us a stimulus gives us a response, it leads to a response, that response leads to a trigger of self awareness, imagination, conscience, and independent will. Now, the proactive language and the reactive language are two opposites. The proactive language will talk about, let's look at an alternative. The reactive language will say, there's nothing I can do. It's an opposite. While the proactive says, I can choose a different approach. The reactive language will say, that's just the way I am, I can't do much. The proactive says, I will choose an appropriate response. The reactive guy says, I can't do that. So you see, there's a lot of difference between being proactive and reactive. So whenever your bosses keep, letting you know that let's get proactive, they're just trying to ensure that you're two steps ahead of what you can imagine and see, so that there are no mishaps and there are no accidental revenue drains. Uh, so that's probably one way of looking at being proactive. When you be proactive, what happens is there are two things that are happening. One, you are ensuring that there is a due diligence done from your end. Secondly, you are avoiding anything that's going to happen 2-3 steps ahead. So you are actually measuring for those processes ahead, which means if there was a possibility of that particular process failing, you've already fixed it at your end. So if this happens, you've got plan A and plan B waiting for that to be fixed. So that's being proactive. Let's look at habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. It's based on the principles of personal leadership, and this is quite a favorite with a lot of people. All the things are created twice. Remember that. Once in your mind and second in physical form. Even Robin Sharma says the same thing. Everything's created twice. Once in your mental setup, second in your physical setup. Now, we need to have a mission statement, don't we? Every organization has that, but I don't know how many people remember that. Now, a mission statement focuses on what you want to be, where you want to go, how you want to achieve that, and by when you want to achieve that. So, where, when, how, why. It answers, all these small little questions. Now, the mission gets into roles. When you have a mission statement, of course, then you need people who have those roles to go and achieve that mission. Those people, along with roles, will have goals. Now, with goals come plan, and with plan comes a schedule, and with schedule comes delegation, and with delegation comes discipline, and with disciplines comes skill, and with skill comes repertoire. So you can see where the drill down goes down to. Okay. Now you've got to focus on the B's and not on the haves. While begin with the end in mind, you've got to focus on the B's and not on the haves. So this is a very interesting journey in terms of the second habit. So when they say begin with the end in mind, You've got to keep the end in mind when you're actually starting. How do you want it to finish? How do you want it to look? How do you want to see it? How do you want to feel it? How do you want it to sound? So the see, hear, and feel has to be there right from the beginning, right? That's when you want your product to really look great and good, and people to applaud it and appreciate it. Habit three talks about putting first things first. Now, putting first things first is all about putting people first. This is based on the principle of personal management. Okay, putting people first is a PPF program where you know your biggest assets are your people, and you invest in them. And a happy person gives you happy results, more profitability, and a growing organization. We all know that. So that's where it stems from. Now let's look at the four quadrants that put first things first has. Now the quadrant one is all about urgent and important. When you say urgent and important, there is activities like pressing problems, deadlines, uh, driving projects. The results that you need from that is stress, burnout, crisis management, always putting off the fire, right? So you get these kind of uh, environments that you work on, urgent and important. So everything is urgent and everything is important. So you've got to really fight fire with fire. Your quadrant two talks about not urgent and important. So here your activities will be prevention, relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, planning, recreation, and your results will come in the form of vision, perspective, balance, discipline, and not so much crisis, but few crises. Your third quadrant will talk about urgent and not important. So the activities associated here is interruptions. Then you'll have some calls, you'll have some mails, you'll have some reports coming in, you'll have intermittent meetings happening, you'll have pressing matters which take away your time, you'll have those popular activities on the floor where you're being called for. And the results that it will show, short term focus, crisis management. You're always dousing the fire. You're not in control, you're absolutely out of control. A reputation is at stake. You're not consistent. Uh, the goals and plans that you see are given to you are all worthless. Shallow on your broken relationships. Shallow or broken relationships. Now, quadrant 4 will talk about not urgent and not important. Here, the activities will be trivia, busy work, not so many phone calls, but some phone calls, some mails, and some intermittent time wasters. You'll have pleasant activities happening all around you. Your results will be total irresponsibility. Actually, you get fired from your jobs. You're dependent on others to do stuff for you. So it's not a great situation for you to be in. So you've got to check yourself which quadrant are you in, and how you want to progress to the more better quadrants, and what are skills, behavior that you require to progress there. Now we need to have an emotional bank account when we are talking of habit 3. It describes the amount of trust that built in a relationship. You have to work with people and you have to build trust in that relationship. It's the feeling of safeness you have with one another as a human being. People have to be safe with you. People have to trust you. Deposits in that bank account of yours is in the form of being polite, kind, being courteous, being chivalrous, honest, keeping your commitments, promise versus delivery has to be met. So when trust is high on the communication radar, it becomes very easy for people to believe you, and then they have instant warmth and effectiveness in what they do. So just keep that in mind. We go on to habit 4. It's think win-win. Very simple. It's based on the principles of interpersonal relationship. Now we have 6 paradigms for human interactions here when we talk win-win. One is win-win. I win, you win. Second is I lose, you lose. Third is I win, you lose. Fourth is we just win. Fifth is you lose, I win. Sixth is win-win or no deal. Either it's mine or it's no one's. Now, this is something very scary. So, thinking win-win is all about how your actions can benefit your client, your internal stakeholders, so that what we have achieved to go out and accomplish, that's been met for both of us. Now there are five dimensions to the win-win dependency that we are talking about. Win-win can only come when you've got a great character, when you've got good relationships, when you are in agreement with people saying that yes, I agree to do this and let's do this together. We will do this together, not I. So let's do this together. We are both in it. You've got to have support systems. You can't do it all by yourself. That's why you have support departments. That's why you have support staff. And then you need a process. You need SOPs to take you there. If you don't have SOPs, forget it. You're like a sitting duck. Because you can't get your results if you are a scatter diagram. You've got to be aligned. So, that's just a little tip for you. Habit 5. Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then be understood. How important. This is based on the principles of emphatic communication. Now, character and communication are two big C's that we need to look at. Now, communication should focus on the need to effective listening, and there is an important need for emphatic listening. Emphatic listening means listening with total intent. It's also called deep listening. So you have passive listening, active listening, deep listening, emphatic listening. Right? 4 levels of listening. So passive, active, deep, and emphatic. I'm giving you that as well. So now emphatic listening is getting inside another person's mind of reference. You're getting into his mind. How is he wanting you to listen? You see the world the way he sees the world. So then you will understand him better. You understand their paradigm, you understand their mindset, you understand their perspective, you understand their state of mind. And you understand how they feel, how they hear, how they taste, how they sound. Emphatic listening is different from sympathetic listening. Empathetic listening is different from sympathetic listening. So don't get those two confused. You diagnose before you prescribe. What can you prescribe if you've not diagnosed the person? Unless you know where the problem is, what kind of solution will you give? So your root cause analysis has to be very, very accurate. You've got to know where the pain area is. You've got to know where the weakest link in that chain is. So although it's risky and hard, seek first to understand where the issues or diagnose before you prescribe and then give your solution. First understand, then be understood. Listen to the opposite person first, absorb what he has to say. Once you've absorbed, then you let him know what is it that you want to say. This is what it talks about. Simple to understand. Habit 6, synergize, based on the principles of creative cooperation. Not bad at all. Now it is true manifestation of all other habits that get us together. Yeah, synergize. When you synergize, your entire body has to synergize. You can't have one part synergizing, the other part deviating. It means the whole is greater than the sum. Absolutely, very true. And it also means the essence of synergy is to value differences. Each state of your body has different outputs, but how you synergize that well for the overall outcome is something that you need to look at. It's dependent on you to build on your strength and compensate for your weaknesses. It's always nice to have weaknesses because from there you can develop a few more strengths. Now the best possible explanation of synergy is the process of childbirth. Man, woman synergizing, a child is born. Right? So that's an example which I just want to leave you with. We go with habit 7, sharpen the saw, sharpen your axe. I don't know how many of us do that. Sharpen the saw, sharpen the axe, / upgrade, upskill, / get better or get beaten, / effectiveness to greatness. That is what it means. It's based on the principles of balance of self-renewal. Self-renewal. So you got to have a new you coming up all the time. There are 4 areas to sharpen your axe, your saw, your knowledge. First is the physical. Exercise, nutrition, stress management, overall body fitness. Mental, reading, visualizing, manifesting, planning, writing. That helps. Then you have social and emotional, your services, your energy, your empathy, your intrinsic values. Then you have spiritual. You value clarification. You give your commitment, promise versus delivery. That is the best thing that can happen. Right? So, sharpen your saw is the seventh habit. When you sharpen your saw, you are allowing yourself to absorb more, grab more, and get better. I'll leave you with one more habit. It's called the eighth habit, which was published in 2004, like I said, from effectiveness to greatness. The eighth habit is finding your voice and inspiring others to find theirs. This is great leadership style. Now, voice, according to Stephen Covey's code, is a very unique personal significance. Those who inspire others to find their own voice are the leaders that we need right now and for tomorrow. Now, there are five cancerous behaviors that inhibit people's greatness. It's called the 5 C's: criticism, complaining, comparing, competing, and contending. Okay? Now, people can discover their voice because of the three gifts everyone is born with. Each one has that: the freedom of choice, the natural laws of principle, your consequences of your behavior, the positive consequences of your behavior, being kind, fair, respect, honesty, integrity, right? And then you have the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual states. And so everybody is born with that. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know that. In NLP, we have the logical levels of change, LLC as we call it. So there are different models across, but they talk the same thing. Now, as we move finally, Stephen Covey always said, and he talks about great achievers expressing their thoughts through the use of intelligence. You've got to be intelligent. That's why I say when you have a discussion with an intelligent person or an intelligent group, the discussion is absolutely different. And here's some achievers for examples. You've got to develop the mental energy into vision. You've got to develop the physical energy into discipline. You've got to develop that emotional energy into passion. And you've got to develop that spiritual energy into conscience, their inward moral sense of what is right and wrong that drives towards the meanings and contribution in your own life. Right? These are the 8 habits of Stephen Covey. Thank you so much for watching. Do like, subscribe, and press the icon bell. And let me know how you found this video on the 7 habits of Stephen Covey plus the 8th habit, so we can make it bigger, better, and brighter. I will come back with more videos to upgrade and upskill your knowledge base. In the meantime, go conquer, you wonderful and awesome people. You are so lovely. Thank you so much. You just have one life and you so deserve it. I will be coming back with more videos. Watch this space for more. I'll see you around same time, same place. Until then, go be happy, spread joy, love, happiness, and stay blessed. Thank you so much for watching YouTube videos.